Thank you for joining our seminar series.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Madam Mrs. Kalsarat.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much for all the work. So I'm expecting our speaker anytime from now. And all right. So I'm expecting our speaker anytime from now, and once he's in, we'll proceed from there. Sadayo, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Scout said that I greet you.
All right, good evening, everybody. I believe we are doing fine. So I'm waiting briefly for our guests to come in, and then we'll be able to commence the presentation.
I'm here already.
All
Can you hear
right,
me?
good evening. Yes,
Good
thank you
evening.
very much. Thank you for coming, sir. Thank you for honoring your presence. So good evening, everybody. It's another good day to host everybody. Thank you very much for being part of our program, our seminar series that we started since late January. My name is Kehinde Omisile. I'm the head of operations at Project Partner Data Solutions. Our organization is an international research consultancy currently based in Ile-Ife, Osun State, Nigeria. I provide research consulting, training, internship, and technical report writing for researchers of different levels and cadres. So this seminar series are part of our effort to equip upcoming and early career researchers on the things that are important for them in their research career. And today we have with us a distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Kehinde Omisile, who has been a senior data analyst. Actually, I learned a lot by watching him and some of the trainings he himself had organized along the line. And I am honored to host him in this meeting today. So before I proceed, I want to give you a brief profile of our presenter, and then we'll go ahead with the presentation. So, excuse me, please. All right. Okay, so about our presenter, Mr. Olumisile Kehinde Olujenga is a data and research analyst with about 2 decades of professional experience. He has a bachelor's degree in mathematics, master's degree in biostatistics, and an MBA in management and information science, information management systems. He's also an alumnus of the Daystar Leadership Academy. He currently works with MSI Nigeria Reproductive Choices as Head Management Information Systems and Business Solutions, where his team manages multiple service delivery information systems, support design and deployment of decision support systems, embed mobile solutions to support operation efficiency, and oversee the data privacy program for the organization. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you today Mr. Kehinde Omisile. You are welcome, sir. Please, you have the floor for your presentation. Thank you, sir. Over.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you please confirm that you can hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Sorry, I do not have an office in my home yet, so I'm just hoping that my boys will not come in to disturb the discussion we're having here today. By the way, the person that spoke earlier is my younger brother, so I've been working with him for many years and supporting him in his career also. And it's really nice to be here this evening. And thank you so much for making out the time. So I'm speaking on the topic around some of the tools that you need to work as in data analysis. And well, hopefully I will just make a very quick presentation first, and then I hope that when I'm done, then you will be able to ask questions, because I have a feeling most of the people that are here this evening are people in research. I hope people in research, and which is, of course, where I started my career in research data analysis. Can you confirm that you can please see my screen?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, great. So I started my career in research data analysis many years ago, and I have been on that for a while, and then over time I've moved more and more into some measure of monitoring and evaluation, and then I went on. I'm sorry. Okay, so research data analysis, and then from there I went on to I think you're not seeing the right screen. Let me do that again. Great. So as I was saying that, sorry. So I have extensive experience first with research. I started working in research with an NGO after my maths program, and did a lot of work with them. They went to reproductive health, and so I was privileged to do a lot of support for the organization with their research. Although I also remember that when I was around 19 was when I took a lot of interest in data analysis, and I was studying agric engineering back then, a diploma in agric engineering, and that's when I came in contact with statistics for the first time, and I was really fascinated. All right, and then of course from there I started a small company and started consulting. Of course, I had to go and build my skill in data analysis, especially the core data analysis, especially ANOVA. I remember ANOVA t-test where I started, and because I understood the fundamentals, all right, I needed to use the software because, of course, I understood the fundamentals so well. I wanted to start helping students, my colleagues, to solve some of their problems. So that was when I came across using a tool like Excel. I started with Excel to run data analysis. So it has this analysis tool pack. Once I found that out, all right, I started consulting, and of course, I've been consulting since then till date, about 20 years now. So, and supported students, of course, I collected their money also. So that was back then, started that way. And then from there, I went to learn SPSS. I worked with somebody in UI in the University of Ibadan back then. That's when I came in contact with SPSS for the first time. SPSS version 9, but of course, SPSS has come a long way now. I use version 20, I think 24 now. All right. So, and then from there, I became exposed to other tools, data, when I was doing my master's in UI, biostatistics, right? And then some R here and there. But essentially, as far as core research is concerned, I've only used Excel, SPSS, and Stata, all right, for analysis, for data cleaning, for visualization, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then on the business side of things, because the organization I currently work with, yeah, we have research arm of our work, but there is also this component of our work, which is more business-like. We actually use business model for the NGO work that we do. Okay, so, and that requires you working with a lot of transactional data. So beyond just analyzing data and doing do not reporting, we are also analyzing data to improve business efficiency. All right. And because I was sitting like in the middle of the whole thing in management information systems, I also needed to support systems that bring in the data, that could generate the data that we needed to support decision making. So that took me a little bit into some level of what I'll call data engineering, where you build mobile apps. Of course, I don't build them from scratch. You look at this a mobile app service delivery organization, and then you leverage on what they have to build your own form, put your own forms on their own tools. For most part, we use ODK or use Microsoft Forms, depending on the level of security we want on that data that we're trying to collect, right? And then so that's how we came into. I came further into designing business solutions, and then for data collection for the organization. So we spend a lot of time designing those applications, and so we have a lot of operational data. We have client feedback. We have all kinds of tools In fact, one of the client's feedback tools that we designed, this one was to collect data from low resource settings, and it's in like 6 Nigerian languages. So people in low resource settings, people who have little or no education, they don't have to read what the app is saying. They can just click a button and it will read to them. They can provide their feedback, because we are very high on client satisfaction, right? And we want a situation where no matter what the person's level of education or literacy, they will get high quality clinical services wherever they are, anywhere in this country, no matter how remote the location. So we get there. So we design those applications to support such systems. And of course, when the data comes in, you have to prepare it, and then put them on dashboards and reports that will support decision making, either for performance management to see how well we're doing against our goals for the year, or we are looking at anything to support decision making. For instance, while some of these data are still coming in, you are able to see that, okay, based on the level of data that is coming in day to day, are we likely to reach our goal by the end of the month? All right, so those dashboards and reports, which are, of course, interactive, they are live, they are connected to live data. They can help management to be able to say, oh, with this level of efforts that we have seen by this time of the month, we can reach our goal by the end of the month, by the end of the quarter, and so on. So it really helps. It helps decision making at different levels. And of course, beyond that, there is also the part of data security, where I'm also involved with data privacy program in the organization, where we ensure that all the every person that we provide services to, they are safeguarded, their information is safeguarded as much as possible. So we watch out for best practices. We train our organization to ensure that everybody collects data with utmost levels of professionalism, and ensure that data is kept private, because no matter how little, no matter what data we're trying to collect, it looks like people must feel safe, all right, with their data that we're collecting. And of course, we follow the principles in the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, that which started sometimes in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, right? So the NDPC was established, I think, 2023 or 2024, and then of course we ensure that we keep with the data privacy principles of the federal government of Nigeria. So that's kind of a brief history of my work with data over the years. So and of course, what I'm showing you right now is kind of an overview of the stuff that we do with data. At the top is just kind of a brief summary of some of the places where data comes from, right? We have data from DHIS2, Microsoft Dynamics. That one we use for our sales social marketing business, and then for our contact center. And those are high transaction environments where data comes in like every other minute, new data is coming in, and you really ensure that you are fully prepared. You have automated systems prepared to analyze, to shape the data, analyze them, and then make presentations so that people can make decisions wherever they are. And of course, we create web forms, which we would usually create web forms if it's only staff of the organization that will be generating such data, so that they can log in with their username and passwords to send in some of that data, especially reports, clinical incidents, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have a lot of mobile apps, mostly built on Open Data Kit. And in the middle, you have some of the kind of analysis that we carry out. So we have survey data also, apart from these ones that come regularly. You have survey data, so you do some level of survey data analysis, and then which of course was where I started my career from. And of course, experimental data analysis, experimental research data analysis, where you do ANOVA, t-test, and so on. Then we have the kind of data that comes in. You do customer analytics also, where you're trying to profile your customers, either the people you're selling to, the people you're providing services to. These types of analysis helps you to know who are the people you are dealing with, and the kind of services, how best to shape maybe your conversations with them and all of that. And of course, part of their customer analytics, we also get data from customer feedback that helps us be able to make decisions. And so that when customers provide feedback and say, oh, I'm not impressed with this type of service I received today or something, they can we can make decisions. We can make decisions in-house, have conversations with the right persons, all right, and then make those differences. Of course, all of this are also built on automated systems, so that as those feedback are coming in real time, we can see them. Where they are good, we commend the staff. Where they are not good, we have those conversations so that we make changes to business operations where necessary. And this has really been very, very helpful. And of course, business analytics, when you look deep down into the business records, into the transactions, and that helps us be able to also make decisions. Like I mentioned earlier, we have dashboards and reports that can tell by the middle of the month how well we're doing as against our focus for the month, and if we're likely to meet the targets that we have set for ourselves. All right, so that really helps us to be able to make business operations decisions along the line. And of course, operation analytics helping us to understand how well we're doing our business operations. If people are doing what they're supposed to do, because if people don't do what they're expected to do across the country, by the way, the organization I work with, we have business operations across the length and breadth of this country. So that's a lot of stuff, and then you need automated systems to be able to tell if people are doing what they're expected to do. So we have a lot of mobile apps that help to monitor their activities in the field, because they need to send in daily reports, and from the daily reports you can extract information, determine if we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. If we're not doing them, what changes do we need to make, and so on and so forth. And so below the light blue line, the bottom, it now tells you why we do those analysis. At the top is the data sources, in the middle is the kind of analysis we do, and then at the bottom you have why do we do that. So we have to enhance data quality, which is very, very important. Some of the analysis we do also help us to improve on data quality. And there's clinical quality, like I mentioned, that no matter who the person is, no matter their age, no matter their experience, no matter where they live, they must receive high quality data, clinical services. So they receive, our clients receive high quality clinical services, and I want to ensure that we do not do harm to these people. So the analysis that we do, some operational analysis, some customer analytics, really help us to enhance clinical quality. And of course, business process automation. There are business processes in the organization that we really need to enhance. So a lot of the times, data analysis can also help us to improve, to identify what are some of the areas where we have lags, and then what do we need to do to make improvements in those areas. And a lot of the times, some of the manual processes that people carry out in-house, once we understand end-to-end, what are the data sources and what is the end goal. The end goal most of the time is to generate a report to push out. Then we can also help teams to automate those processes. Instead of doing manual approach to their work, just push this button, paste this data, and then every other thing is fully automated for you. So that really helps our businesses. And analytics also helps us be able to understand what are some of those things that needs to change in those business processes so that we make improvement. And of course, project management, like I mentioned earlier, that I work with an NGO, so we get monies from donors, and of course we use data analysis as part of project management. We have some IT project management also in the organization, but mostly this development project management, data analysis is also part of what we do for donor reporting, for decision making, for ideation, and so on and so forth. So to also improve how we carry out those projects. All right, you collect data from the projects, you do some analysis, and it helps you to know that, okay, these are some of the changes we need to make on this project. Sometimes you do an intervention, you want to see if it has changed anything over time. So where there's an improvement, you sustain. Where there's no improvement, you make changes, you try again. Sometimes you have to drop the process. So that is that's about the background and the kind of work I do. So I also, so in the next few slides, so yeah, next few minutes, I'm going to be talking to us about some 5 essential tools for a data analyst. Now, I'm not going to be talking about software because I know that most of the time when people call themselves data analysts, which unfortunately I've seen a lot of it, they are usually just talking about the fact that they can use a specific software. And software does not make it, the fact that you can use a software very well does not make you a data analyst. For instance, so you are very good at using Python, you can use R, or you can use even SPSS. It doesn't really make you a data analyst. It only makes you someone who can use SPSS. Yeah, because SPSS is a tool, it's just a means to an end, right? For instance, the fact that you drive a car does not make you a professional driver. I mean, there are some stunts you can do with your car. It only makes you can drive, but it doesn't make you a professional driver. So the fact that you can use, say, Excel does not necessarily make you a data analyst. And there are so many, of course, Excel is one of those easiest to use business tools across the globe. And thousands and thousands of people can use it, but I mean, it doesn't make them a data analyst in any way. And the challenge we have seen over time, especially because I recruit once in a while, people who come to my team and they say they are data analysts and all of that. Oh, I can use Power BI, I use Excel, I use this one, I use SQL, I use Tableau, and so on and so forth. Okay, fine, great. Now, here's the data, analyze it, and then you begin to see something else. So a lot of the times, because they use those tools, but they can't use it to solve any problem. That is what makes the difference between a real data analyst and somebody that just can use those tools. And I think that's also very, very important. For those of us who have a strong background in research, maybe most of what you do is in research, the fact that you can use SPSS, or you can use Stata or R or Python or any other tool that use EpiInfo, you can use it to manipulate data and do a couple of things. No, it does not necessarily make you a data analyst yet, because data analysis is beyond you pouring data into the software, and then the software just gives you something out. Most of the time, it's just garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you give the software, it will definitely analyze it for you, whether the conditions are right or not. For instance, if you carry what kind of data will I give you an example? I'm trying to give you a t-test example. All right. So if the research from the outset is not a paired sample data, a paired sample instance, maybe you did a pre-post examination, pre-test and a post-test, that already qualifies for a paired sample analysis. If you want to do a paired sample t-test, I mean, that already qualifies for a paired sample t-test. But now you collected data from 2 heterogeneous groups and they hardly have anything in common, but you shape the data because you have 10 people on this group and 10 people on this group. You put the data side by side and you pour that into a paired sample t-test analysis. If you garbage that into any software, it will definitely give you an answer. All right. And you will most likely go and present that and say, oh, you did this t-test and then this is the result that you have. Whereas you have actually used the wrong tool for something else. That's supposed to be an independent sample t-test, not a paired sample t-test. So the fact that you can use the tool, like I said earlier, does not necessarily make you a data analyst. It only makes you someone that can use that tool. So number one is, the next things I'm going to be talking about, number one is understanding statistics. I will come into that. And statistics here does not necessarily have to stay within the confines of research. It deals with, cuts across different areas, like customer analytics, I mentioned earlier, operational analytics, business analytics, and even research data, experimental research, survey data, and all of that. Then writing scripts for data cleaning and ETL, which is also very, very important. If you have worked in data analysis for a couple of years, you will understand that data cleaning and data transformation is where you are likely to spend a lot of time trying to prepare the data for analysis, especially if it's secondary data or data that you deploy yourself. And third is visualization and communication, which is now what brings out your work, how you visualize, how you present the visualization, how you communicate it to people that need to use it. And there are different types of people that you'll be communicating to. So we'll talk about that briefly. And of course, teamwork in data science projects. In whatever field you are not, the data analyst does not consume the output of his work. I think that should be a rule for us all the time, because we always have to work in a team, right? Most of the time, you are not the one that generated the data. Somebody generated it and brought it to your table, and then you run the analysis and return the result to the person. So ability to communicate clearly, to work in a team, right, is essential. And of course, finally, which is usually for me the most important, is continuous learning and professional development. We cannot overemphasize that, right? We cannot overemphasize that. And I'll see if I can just give you one or two examples of where that happens. Okay. So number one is understanding statistics. And of course, as simple as this may look, it's very, very important. For instance, your mean, your ability to understand the mean, your median and mode, variance and standard deviation. They are kind of the fundamentals of statistics in a lot of ways. And even in what's it called now? I mean, when you started to learn statistics and basic mathematics, these are some of the things that we start learning even from, I think, secondary school, or the junior secondary school, if I'm not mistaken. All right, you add the numbers together, divide by the number of items in that group. All right, and that gives you your mean, or you are looking for what number is in the middle and all of that. You know, you don't really know how important these little things are until when you now become very advanced in your career and your knowledge, and then you need to solve certain problems, and you don't realize how important these tools can really be. For instance, your ability to understand how the median function can even help you to write better scripts or better analysis as you grow in your work. Like, let me give you an instance. In Excel, which a lot of people find very, very fascinating. Yeah. So a lot of the times, one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to, let's say, I'm trying to remember one of the areas where I've used this a lot. Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to restrict the value. Okay, so for instance, let's say I have a couple of numbers here. All right, and I want to say I'm trying to recode. Yeah, I think I use that a lot in recoding. I'm trying to recode this number, and I want to say that, okay, if the number, okay, let me use some bigger numbers. Let me just do and array, let's say 20 column 5 to 50. Yeah, integers. Okay, something like this. All right. So I want to say that if a number is sorry. Okay. It's volatile, so I'll just make it static. All right. So instead of saying if this number is okay, so what I want to do is every number that is above 20, I will code them to 20, and then every other thing I will that means the maximum value I want to give to any number is 20. Every other thing remains. So usually what you want to do, if this number is less than 20, all right, then put the number, else put 20, something like this. All right, so, and then you will notice that, okay, this is 20 here, this is 20. All right, every other thing remains that way. So anything that's above 20 becomes 20, every other thing remains. A lot of the times too, we use this to restrict maybe certain calculations to 100. Maybe when you're doing proportions, and then there's likely that some numbers will be above 100. So you can use that for restriction. But a lot of the times, when I write things like this, I wouldn't do this because it could be a more complex calculation you're trying to do. So I'll just use the median. All right, median. And I'm trying to find the median between. Okay, then let's say you also have a lower bound. So let's say I want to restrict all the numbers between 10 and 20. Any number that is below 10, I will make it 10. Any number above 20 will be 20. Every other thing stays in between. So I'm trying to recode all these numbers to between 10 and 20. So I could have said, let's say ifs in Excel, if this is less than 20, is less than 10, make it 10. All right. If this is less than 20, sorry, greater than 20, make it 20. If this is greater than 0, then give me the number 2. All right. So something like this. So you can see all the numbers that are this 14, it's giving me 14 because it's between 10 and 20. This is 50, it has restricted it back to 20. This is 29, is 20. All right. And so this is below 10, so it has brought it back to 10, and so on and so forth. So this is how we would have written most of the formula. But how something as simple as a median can help you is just write a formula and say, give me the median between this and 20. All right. And then the median just gives you a very lovely answer. And that's it. So I don't have to write a very long formula. Just understanding how the median functions, that whatever the number is, always give me the number. If this number is above 20, then 20 becomes the median. If the number is below 10, then 10 becomes the median, and so on. So that's helping us to understand those fundamental principles of statistics that we have learned over time, and now how they can help us to write better codes, and so on and so forth. All right. So that is one of the ways that understanding those fundamentals can help us. All right. In why sometimes when you are trying to write a script, for instance, somebody trying to write a script to clean data in this sense could find this extremely useful. And of course, things like the mode, or what's the number with the most frequency, can also be very, very useful for you, even when you're writing advanced calculations, all right, and so on. But understanding statistics is where you start from if you want to be a data analyst. One, understand the fundamental principles of how these numbers add up, how these numbers interact, and what applies to what. All right, and because the challenge we have a lot of the time is if you use the wrong tool for a particular kind of data, yeah, you will get results, which you will always get results, but most likely that result will be incorrect. And of course, things like variance and standard deviation are some of the tools that we have also used, even at advanced level, to study data quality. Yeah, to study data quality, look at data patterns and all of that. Of course, these days and age now where you have machine learning, algorithms and all of that, of course, they have made a lot of things easier and simpler. But I would really like to stay with the fundamentals for you to understand that those little fundamentals that you understand can really go a very long way to help you. And beyond these ones, of course, you now go into the more advanced ones. And you'll be surprised that a lot of the times, especially when you work in business analytics, everything eventually keep coming back to the mean. Oh, what's the average? What is our average performance? What's the average of this? What's the average of that? What's the proportion of this? What's the proportion of that? The median, you use the median like I've used earlier. And of course, where you have numbers that are likely not to converge towards the mean, you can use the median to analyze such. And of course, you now go to more advanced statistics. You are doing t-test, pair t-test, independent sample t-test, one sample t-test. You are doing analysis of variance when you have more than 2 groups to compare. All right. And even at that, and of course, you could go as far as the more advanced one, repeated measures analysis of variance, or general linear model, where you are comparing maybe data that you have collected over time on the same subject over time. You're doing repeated measures. And of course, there's also another layer to that, the bigger one, panel regression, also on time series data. And of course, there's time series analysis in itself also. So those are the very, very advanced ones. And that will also now take me back to what I'm going to be discussing last, which is continuous learning. Continuous learning, because things keep changing, things keep improving. And of course, hypothesis testing, like I mentioned, test hypothesis, is this one better than this? Is it doing better than this one? And you have regression analysis, which you do a lot of that with time series data. And even if it's not time series data, you're trying to look for causal effect, effect of one thing on the other, and so on. And of course, to find also relationships between variables, you use a correlation and so on. Because where for those of us who work in business analytics, also you realize that these things that we have learned and we feel like, oh, it's not advanced enough. You don't know how much they save you a lot of headache when you understand the fundamental principles and you apply them in business environment. And of course, analysis surveillance, which is where I started my data analysis career. I mean, ANOVA was where I started my data analysis career. And of course, predictive modeling, where you're using existing data to predict what's likely to happen in the future. Like one of the dashboards that I designed for our organization, by the end of the first 10 days of the month, all right, it can predict up to 90% confidence how likely the business will do by the end of the month. It can tell you this is the amount of money you make by the end of the month, or that is, all right, based on historical data in the last 10 days and then the previous month. So I usually design two predictive models in it. One looking at the most recent records in terms of days, and then it predicts to say, okay, based on your performance in the last couple of days, this is how likely the business will do in the next by the end of the month, and if you're going to meet with your target. And because it's interactive, you can look at that for each of the different locations where the data is coming from, and that really has helped to make it a lot of decisions in the business. All right. And of course, the other one that uses more advanced statistics, looking at historical data and even includes seasonality and all of that to see that, okay, based on historical data in the last 12 months, right, how well are you likely to do this month? So those are two predictive models that we have on that dashboard, and they've really helped the business to make a lot of important decisions. All right, so that's that about statistical method. Just understand the fundamentals. It's very, very important for you to understand how those things work. Because, for instance, for count data, if you need to do a regression on count data, all right, you are not using a regression that is meant for, say, percentage data to do a count data, all right, and you're not using one for real data on the real number line, all right, for this other one. You just need to understand, okay, where to bring in the Poisson regression model, where you bring in the linear regression model, where you're bringing in logistic regression model. That is where your outcome is a yes or no, yeah, binary, yeah, where your outcome is usually binary, or you use a multinomial regression model where your outcome is limited in the number of possible responses that you're likely to have. All right, so is it because you could mistakenly just go ahead and use, and of course there's a probit, the Tobit, and the logit models that you could also use depending on the kind of outcome that you're trying to measure. So when you understand these things, it helps you to determine how to analyze them. The tools will come later. You could use R. Funny enough, if you use R, you use data, you use SPSS, you use SAS, you use Python, they will all give you the same result at the end of the day. Even if you use Excel, if you compare the result across the board, you realize that you're looking at the same result at the end of the day. The only thing is they may use different algorithms to analyze, but in terms of the fundamental principles, it's going to be the same thing most of the time. If you run analysis on Stata and SPSS for the same data, for the same, for example, pair sample t-test, and they are giving you different results, then you need to study to be sure that either you have done something wrong, or the algorithms that the two systems are using are so far apart, and that will always be a problem. But for most parts, it shouldn't be different, right? How they present their result may be different. For instance, like in SPSS, you have these lovely looking tables that are mostly ready for publications. In Stata, the data are not usually very user friendly, so you have to kind of export them to Excel, to prep them. And for R can still like shape the data for you to use them for publication. I think even Stata has some of those functionality also. All right. So, but the environment be different, but in terms of what the result will be, it will always be the same thing. So that's why personally, I will not usually teach people. The training for a particular software is different from statistical analysis. Now, the other one where you'll spend a lot of your time in data analysis is data cleaning. Because I have realized how much effort data cleaning, data transformation, shaping, and all of that takes, right? A lot of the times I love to be involved in the data collection process if I'm the one that will analyze at the end of the day. so that number one, you will use a mobile application to collect your data, so that I can bring in validation rules, skip patterns and all of that. That will ensure that whatever data I'm collecting at the end of the day is minimum 95% ready for analysis. The remaining 5% will just be little errors here and there that needs to be cleaned up. So you don't spend a lot of time on that. So it's better. So there are 2 points where you're going to be spending data, getting your data ready. Number one is at the level of data collection. If you are not involved in data collection, then you will spend a lot of time post data collection. But it's better to just spend the time pre-data collection, so that at least the data that's coming to you is a lot better before you do the analysis. However, if the data is secondary data, you were not the one that collected it, then you still now have to do a lot of work getting the data ready. And some of the things that happens at that point of cleaning, that's identifying and correcting errors, inconsistencies in data, and testing it for accuracy and reliability. And of course, what we do a lot with things like Power Query, ETL, we extract, transform, and load data. You are creating new calculated columns. It's like you are creating calculated columns or transforming existing ones. For instance, some of the data that come to you, they are date data, but you see sometimes, depending on the software you use, it's coming as with date and time. And sometimes you even have what do you call this stuff now? The time zone, all right, data. So you need to shape that and get it ready. Maybe what you just want are the dates, or even maybe just the month. All right. So those are some of the things that happen at that level of data cleaning. But I strongly recommend to do data cleaning. Don't do it with Excel. It's not recommended. If you check my profile on LinkedIn, I wrote an article many years ago. I said, what was that title? I think I said Excel almost made me lose my job or something like that. All right, because I was using Excel for data cleaning. The problem with using Excel for data cleaning is that you don't have an audit trail. All right, it doesn't keep an audit trail of what you did to get to where you have gotten to. And even if you use software like SPSS, I strongly recommend that you write syntax. All right, you write syntax and you put comments on syntax, because that helps you to be able to go through the steps, number one. And if you need to do it again, all right, the syntax will run on its own. So you don't spend those hours trying to clean the data up again. You just run the syntax on new data. For instance, I deal a lot with transactional data coming in every day and all of that. Or I can't be downloading data, cleaning them, and loading them into analytics. You have to use automated processes to do that. All right, so that's that. I'll be rounding up shortly. And then, so best practice, use modular code, allows for better organization and use of coding, making scripts easier to read and maintain. All right, and use clear naming conventions. Sometimes you have to create new variables in your data. Just make sure that naming convention is very, very clear, that you understand it. I've had certain experiences where I wrote maybe some formulas in Excel, a lot of time formulas in Excel, and even sometimes I'm writing data cleaning scripts. As at the time I'm writing it, there are 2 people that understand it. I understand it, and God understands it. But by the time I come back to it, because I don't have any notes on it, I don't understand it, but God still understands. So I just have no idea how I got that result, because it doesn't have notes, it doesn't have comments on it to tell me this is what I'm trying to do here. So I have also learned how to put comments in my work. For instance, one of the ways I put comments in my formulas in Excel. For instance, if I want to put comment on this one, because the result is a number, I'll just add n. N is that function that just returns text, right? And then I'll put it in. I'll just say is it n? So I think that should be t text. Yeah. Okay. So, and then I'll say whatever the value is the oh, sorry, let me use something meaningful. Restricts the values to the range 10 to 20. Then put it, and that'll be. I'm sorry, I think I used the wrong function. That should be n. Sorry. All right, that's it. So if you look at the formula, I have this comment in it. So you can use this also as a best practice when you're writing Excel formulas. because and of course not just Excel. This is the best you can get in Excel, right? Because the comment is part of the formula. But of course, if you are writing other scripts, maybe in SPSS, in Power Query, or even Power BI, if you use Power BI and all of that, of course, you can always put those comments with the slash, with those slashes that you put in them. Sorry. All right, you put the slashes, put the asterisks, and then you put your comments them and all of that. So, but if you're writing Excel formulas, and if it's especially if it's a complex formula, please always put comments like this. It will help you to remember what you did. You would have said, why not just put the comment in a cell, maybe in notes like this? Well, that will also work, but if the formulas are a lot, right, you just have all those red dots, a lot of them showing on your system. So may just want to avoid that, but really this is one of the ways I would do that. All right, and then let me finish in 5 minutes. So, and of course, thorough documentation. One of the things you should not play with when you are at the level of cleaning data is documentation. Please, you need to document every step. Don't right click and copy and paste and do whatever with your data. Please, you need to write scripts and document them. And I would strongly recommend, if you use SPSS, use the syntax to clean up your data. And yeah, it will make you a better data analyst, really. If you use data, use the do file to clean up your data, it will make you a better data analyst. Of course, if you use R or Python, those ones are even script-based environments. Okay, so I will really strongly recommend that you avoid the temptation to use point and click, especially when you are cleaning data, right? Use scripts to do that and document very well. And finally, importance of visualization. The visualization is where you tell the story of your analysis, where you make your presentation to the people that will use the data. All right. And the one rule I will give you here is that present the data for the audience, not for yourself. All right. Present the data for the audience, not for yourself. For instance, this visualization on the left here, this particular radial diagram, you will never see it when I'm doing any work, because I don't know how many people in the world can actually interpret the data coming from this diagram. Only few people can make sense of it just looking at it. Only few people will appreciate it. But for most part, if you have turned that into a bar chart, you can be sure that almost everyone will make sense of it. So always think about your audience when you want to present the result of your analysis. I would like to move forward from there. And of course, you have several visualization tools, so Power BI, Tableau, and so on and so forth. All right. I also use QGIS if I have to present spatial analysis. I have geo coordinates. You put them on a map. You can use QGIS. And by the way, this might be a very useful technique for some of us online right now. Maybe you want to create a map of Nigeria showing the states. I don't know if you have learned this before. Let's say I have Abia, I have Oyo, I have Niger, I have Ogun, I have Lagos, just a few more, Taraba. All right, you want to put this on a map of Nigeria, you can do it also in Excel. This just like something that will be used. Make sure your computer is connected to the internet, and then highlight them and then put a field map. And okay, sorry, something is missing. So let me just put some numbers on them. Delete that. I don't know why my delete button is not working. Okay, so let me just put that to the side. I'll do that again. All right, let me just put some numbers on them. Save value. 111. Whatever the value is, it could be something else. All right, so I accept. All right, and then Bing will do the rest of the work for you. And in a few minutes, it gives you the map of Nigeria, voila, and that's it. So you can use this in your presentation. You can use this in whatever you want to do. It could be the entire country. It could be part of the country. You can see how quickly it creates the map, and then you can add your data labels on it as you may so wish. So that is just one of those tricks that I believe can also help you as you do your work. All right. So your computer needs to be connected to the internet, and then it does this for you as quickly as possible. I can add another what's it called now? Let me add Kogi to this. All right, and then you can see Kogi is here already. I'm adding Let me add Kanu. All right, and then this is Kanu just joins them. So you can even put this on an interactive visualization where these numbers are changing and these are changing, and it begins to show them on a visualization for you. So that's also something you can do with Excel, but of course you can do with more. The more advanced ones may not allow you to create interactive reports for a map, but Excel definitely can allow you to do that. All right. So, and of course, like I said, but finally, always choose your communication for the audience, not for yourself. If your audience will be a set of people that are visually impaired, then it has to be something that will be clear for them to be able to easily see. If you are creating a report for an executive, executives don't have energy reading a 2-page report. A 1-page report is the most they want. So you have to craft your report in a way that makes enough sense to them. Then communicating insights to stakeholders, like I mentioned, tailor your message. Clarity is important, and of course, impactful explanation. I don't want to waste time on this. And of course, teamwork, like I said earlier, that a lot of the times as a data analyst, you will not work alone. In fact, not a lot of the times, all of the times you will not work alone. So learning to work in a team is another skill that you must build. You must learn to work in a team. You must learn to, no matter how introverted you are, you must learn to work in a team, because that's what will bring out the beauty of your work. All right. You don't, an artist is not the one that will tell whether his work of art is the best in the world or not. The data analyst is not the one that will tell whether what he has done is good for the business or not. It's the project manager, it is the business manager, it is the principal investigator, whoever that may be, that will determine if what you have given to them helps to solve their problem or not. Okay. So whatever you are as a data engineer, you are responsible for creating and maintaining the architecture. Of course, you could work in a group where you have the data engineer is separate, the data analyst is separate. You even have guys in IT managing the hardware and the software, end of stuff and of data security. But the project manager is the one that will oversee the whole thing and determine if the results you are pushing out meets their needs or not. So you must learn to work in a team, learn to communicate, learn to ask questions, attend meetings, because a lot of the time people will depend on you to guide whatever decision they're going to be making at the end of the day. All right. And then I'm not going to managing conflict. Then, of course, the most important one to me is continuous learning and professional development. All right. Things are changing every day. Like the Excel that I learned in what year was that? I think that was 2006. If I'm not mistaken, the Excel I learned like 20 years ago, it's not the Excel I'm using today now. All right, some of the things that we do now, you have to write very long formulas to achieve. In those days, you have to write very long formula. But now some of those things that we would do in those days, trying to write very long formula, with a single one, like the let function allows you to create let x is 2, y is 3, and then do x plus y, are some of the things that we do now. And of course, it could be lambda. It could be a lambda function that you're also creating. Let's say y, and then what you're doing is y raised to power 4. All right. Of course, in itself, it would not work. But if I give it a parameter like this, and then it gives me y, my y in this case is 5. So these are kind of formulas that we write in Excel now. We no longer write those very long formulas to achieve very simple things. All right. So, and of course, if you were not learning along the line, you will not know that things like this exist. I think we now also have the regular expression formula, reg extract, reg replace, and reg test. So continuous learning and development is what will help you to stay on top of your game as a data analyst. All right. You have to keep learning. You can't just stop learning. Can't stop learning. Stay informed. Read journals, attend conferences, engage with online forums. I think these are kind of the major environments. Personally, I prefer to read books. I learn a lot more from reading books, which of course is the slowest among all of the process. But really, I learned a lot more from that. So continuous learning, attend online courses, have a personal development plan, and of course, make sure that you grow, learn something new every day. Make sure there is something new you are learning every day. At the minimum, by the end of the year, make sure you have learned minimum 100 new things in your area of expertise, and I believe that will help us. So I think that's just all I will have to say for now. Thank you so much for the time. I don't know if we have time for questions and all of that. And I hope I didn't take too much time. Thank you.
Please let us give a round of applause for our presenter. I'm not feeling the applause. I'm not feeling the applause. I'm not feeling the applause. I need the energy. I need the energy. Wow. I've been taking notes. I've been taking notes. I've been taking notes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. In fact, you need to come and check my WhatsApp. We'll be like, hey, today not today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's one or two persons just unmute and let us give feedback to our presenter. Let one or two persons unmute and just give some feedback to our presenter. Anybody? Yes, Mr. Chris, you have the floor, sir. You can also ask your question. Mr. Chris, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Your class is very interactive. I just joined about 10 minutes ago, and I must say I've been able to learn something important that I've never seen before, which is the interactive map you did on Excel. And this is mind-blowing. I never knew something like that even exists. And I'm going to watch this session again from beginning till the end. I think I've missed a lot, but no, I've not missed anything because I'm going to look at it again and see all you've demonstrated. Thank you very much. I'm happy to attend, even in these 10 minutes. You've done so well. Thank you.
All right, so your question. You raised your hand earlier.
No. I think I've already got an answer to what I wanted to ask.
All right, thank you. Mr. Silkegbola, you have the floor, please.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Once again, I want to appreciate our presenter. Thank you for shedding light, on data analysis. What first got me struck was when you were saying something like the fact that one can create some tools, some statistical tools, apps, doesn't make one a data analyst, because I used to think that I'm a data analyst. But you've made us see what it really takes, to call oneself a data analyst. So thank you so much, sir, for the light. Like Mr. Christopher said, I'm going to watch the video again. Now I have a question, sir. Just like what Mr. Christopher said, that I didn't know that Excel has, can be used to represent maps, to show maps. So I've already asked the question in the income messages, like in the chat box. I was like, does Excel have special components such that it can be used to represent maps, just like all these other apps like ArcGIS, QGIS, and all stuff?
So Excel is not as versatile as those ones, to be candid. Although it has some functionality to represent spatial data, even if you have the coordinates. But that is if you are using the 3D map. There's a 3D map functionality in Excel that you can actually use for that. If you go to the Insert tab, if I'm not mistaken, and then you will see. Let me see. Okay, I think this my version of Excel doesn't seem to have 3D map. Well, I'm not because I don't use it often. I use the other one, the one I showed you just now, because the kind of information I'm trying to represent for this one is not really very complex. If it's more complex, I don't even come to Excel at all. I'll just go. Yeah, if you use Power BI too can put coordinates on a map for you. Excel has a bit of that functionality, but it's not very interactive like you will see in Power BI. But of course, if I really need something sharp, something a bit more complex, where you need very complex layers, you can use QGIS. Excel too can use layers. I think somebody needs to.
Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, so you can also use so look for 3D maps on Excel. That also uses layers. You can also plot layers on each other, but really the outcome is Well, I've not done a lot of work with it, so I can't tell for now if it's the best. All right, I've used it a lot for other kind of other projects, but the one I showed you here is just the basic. Just put the name of the state, make sure your computer is connected to the internet, and then just plot the map, and that's it. So, but I use QGIS for other spatial analysis. But you can try 3D maps.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank everybody. Please let's drop some applause for our guest again. Thank you very much. This is mind blowing. In fact, it's so much. Thank you very much, sir. We are very grateful. So this is the end of our presentation for today. This is, if you are just joining, this is one of the seminar series. This should be our 5th seminar lecture on project partner data solutions, where we are teaching about building a career in data analysis and research. We are continuing like this till we get to the month of April. You can download our training brochure from bit.ly/PPDS brochure to get our training calendar for 2025. This is our presenter, Mr. Kehinde Omisile Kehinde. You can follow him on LinkedIn. Just search for Omisile Kehinde. He does not have part 2. And that his link has also been put in the chat. You can also follow him accordingly. And our organization, please follow us on LinkedIn, Project Partner Data Solutions. And then, so this is like I told you, this is the flyer for the training. You can sign up on using the link above so that you can be updated once they are starting the next class, 5 to 6 p.m. every Sunday till the 13th of April 2025. You meet us here by God's grace. We have an upcoming training, data analysis with NVivo, a qualitative analysis tool in June and in October. We have our SPSS training in Stata next month. That's like 3 weeks from now. We have our Atlas T training April, August, and December as well, on-site and virtual. And then we have our data analysis SPSS advanced training holding in March. Look out for it. You can also register using the link in the description. So all the video for all the seminar series will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. You will find it on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Project Partner Data Solutions. You can search for us there. Once we start uploading it, we let you know. So see you next week where we continue again. Thank you very much, Mr. Kehinde Omisile, for your presentation. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful week ahead. Goodbye.